There's a conversation about fat loss that nobody wants to have with women. Not your friends, definitely not your partner. And honestly, most people online won't say it either. But I'm a registered dietitian and I have helped hundreds of women successfully lose weight. And I've learned that the biggest breakthroughs usually come after one honest, uncomfortable conversation. The one that finally makes everything click. And today we're going to have it too. Now, the most common reason women come to me feeling stuck with weight loss is this. They think that it's their hormones. And I want to be very clear here because hormones absolutely do matter. In my practice, I work alongside an incredible endocrinologist, Dr. Mary Ryan. So yes, we are looking at hormones. In fact, she even authored a book called It's Probably Your Hormones. Thyroid, insulin, cortisol, especially during perimenopause. These things can absolutely influence your appetite and influence your weight. But here is what's important to understand. For the vast majority of women, their blood work comes back completely normal. And even when something is off, working with your doctor, we can usually bring things back into range quite quickly. And yet, many women still feel stuck. Why? Because hormones don't usually stop fat loss. What they often do is make that margin for fat loss smaller. And this is the part that nobody explains well. When you're younger or when everything is perfectly optimized, you might get away with being a little inconsistent and still see progress. But as hormones shift, especially around that perimenopause, that margin gets tighter, meaning the weekend habits that used to have no impact now matter more. And this is where most women get confused because nothing feels extreme. You're generally still eating well. You're trying to be more consistent. You're not doing anything that feels that bad. But fat loss does not require huge mistakes. Sometimes it's just a few small extras that quietly cancel out the progress that you made during the week. A takeaway Friday night, a few glasses of wine on a Saturday, and a bigger, more indulgent dinner on a Sunday. Individually, none of these things are a problem, but together they can actually be enough to erase a small calorie deficit, especially when your margin for error is smaller than what it used to be. So yes, get your hormones checked if you're concerned. I always encourage that. But if your blood work is fine and fat loss still is not happening, the next place to look is not your hormones, it's your patterns. Now, another issue I see all the time is women cutting carbohydrates too low or cutting them out completely for too long a period of time. And I will say, to be fair, many people overdo it when it comes to carbohydrates. So there is a balance of portion control here. But going too low is where problems can also start. And this actually links back to hormones. Because when carbohydrate intake gets too low for very long periods of time, it can impact thyroid hormone conversion. Now, I won't get too sciencey, but basically your thyroid, it does need enough fuel and the right type of fuel to keep everything running properly. So when carbs go too long, it can start working against you instead of working for you. And carbohydrates themselves, they do not cause fat gain. In fact, most women do better when they include small amounts regularly, like your oats, your whole grain bread, your potatoes, and your whole grain starches. The key is pairing them with protein and with fiber and with healthy fats to create a balanced meal which will give you balanced blood sugar levels. And we're generally more carb sensitive earlier in the morning. So having a decent serving of carbs at breakfast is usually a great idea, rather than skimping on it at breakfast and then having a big bowl of pasta later on in the evening for dinner. But I find clients are very scared to do this. They find it hard to comprehend me telling them to eat more carbs at breakfast and to have a bigger bowl of oats or have an extra slice of toast. But you're better off adding in more here and then looking a little bit more strategically at your serving size of pasta for dinner that evening. But if you try to cut your carbs too aggressively, your energy is going to tank. And when energy is low, you're less likely to want to go to the gym. You're less likely to want to do a healthy food shop or to meal prep some healthy options during the week. So there's a big knock-on effect here too. Now, the next issue I see a lot is that you know what to do, but knowledge without structure is useless. And people are often, they don't want to admit this one the most. But I cannot tell you the amount of women that I have sitting in front of me in clinic who say, I know what I should be doing. I know I need to be doing more of this, less of that, but they just can't seem to do it. And they're right. They know that vegetables are good for them. They know that they should be doing more exercise, that they should be trying to cut back on ultra processed foods, that they should eat more protein and drink more water. Everyone knows that. But knowing is not the problem and never has been. It's the gap between knowing and doing that is the problem. And that gap is filled by things like stress, a home environment that doesn't support your your goals. A partner who undermines your efforts every Friday night. No meal plan, no structure, no accountability. And these are not small things, these are actually the barriers. You wouldn't try to train for a marathon without a training plan. You wouldn't try to fix your own boiler. At some point, getting support is not a last resort. It's just the logical next step, whether that is working with a dietitian, joining a community, or even just getting one other person in your life genuinely on your side. Knowledge without accountability equals zero results. And I see this literally every week. But the women who succeed long term are not the ones who know the most about nutrition. They are the ones who put the most structure in place and get the most support when they need it. Now, the next issue really irritates me because it's taking advantage of people. And we often don't even realize that it's happening to us. But online, a lot of people are getting their information from unqualified people, many of whom will call themselves certified nutritionists. And I'm not trying to be dismissive here, but the wellness industry makes billions selling quick fixes, often from people with little or no nutrition training trying to sell you a supplement. And this is really important to understand. Just because somebody calls themselves a certified nutritionist does not automatically mean they have strong or regulated credentials. In fact, in many places, that title is not regulated at all. And the people with these qualifications could have done an hour-long course on the internet, or they could have studied for a year. Big difference. So you're going to see advice like going gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, intermittent fasting. And unless you actually have a real intolerance, advice like this usually just makes eating harder, everything seem more complicated, more expensive, and way less sustainable. And the problem is, the more extreme the advice is, the more engagement they get online. And engagement is what pays the bills. So before you follow nutrition advice, ask one question. What are the person's actual qualifications? Because a registered dietitian has years of university training and is regulated. We're talking usually around 6 years of training and education alone. And that's the level of expertise you want when you're guiding something as important as your health. Now, the next problem I see again and again is women doing endless cardio and ignoring resistance training. Because cardio, it's not a fat loss strategy. And don't get me wrong, cardio like you're running, you're spinning, you're cycling, these are all brilliant for your heart, for your mood, and your mental health. I run myself and I love it. But if you're doing an hour on the treadmill every day and wondering why the weight isn't shifting, here is why. Number one, the more cardio that you do, the hungrier you get. Your body is incredibly good at compensating for the calories that you burn. Studies consistently show that people who do a lot of cardio end up eating more, often more than they have burned. So you're not in the deficit that you think you are. And number two, without resistance training, you lose muscle alongside fat. And muscle is your metabolic engine. Less muscle means a slower metabolism, which makes fat loss progressively harder, which is exactly why you might have found it easier to lose weight in your 20s than you do right now. Resistance training, even 2 to 3 sessions a week, builds and preserves muscle. It keeps your metabolism up and actually makes the fat loss that you do get look a lot better. If you want to look toned, you need to lift weights. There is just no way around this. So the combination that works best is walking for your daily activity, some form of resistance training for your metabolism, and cardio if you enjoy it, not as your primary fat loss tool. Usually with my clients, I ask them to do at least 2 to 3 strength training sessions a week, and then aim for roughly around 8 to 10,000 steps most days. But this can vary dependent on your starting point. Now, another common pattern that I see in clinic, especially amongst women who are busy trying to balance it all, whether that's a job, kids, looking after family, elderly parents, or even just having a very busy social calendar. But many people are not sitting down to have a proper lunch or a proper breakfast. So instead, you're kind of picking at things here and there throughout the day. You're always snacking. And while snacking is not bad, the issue is that if you're constantly grazing, the brain never recognizes or registers that you've sat down to have a proper meal. And then the calories really do start to add up, even if you're just having small amounts of healthy food. And again, remember that margin for weight loss may be smaller than we realized, especially as we're getting that little bit older, heading towards the perimenopause years. So all the little bits of grazing here and there that you might not think are that damaging are probably what is exactly keeping you stuck in your tracks. The calories add up, but the fullness does not. When people eat like this, they don't understand where the food is coming from. They can't even recall exactly how much or what they ate. But with clients that I actually get to really properly sit down and have an intentional breakfast, an intentional lunch, and an intentional dinner, we can have snacks as well included if needed. But again, there's intentionality behind this. This is when we start to see results and the needle starts to move again. So if you've been feeling stuck with fat loss, I really hope this video has been helpful. Most of the time, it's not one big thing holding you back. It's a few small patterns that add up over time. And the good news is that patterns can be changed. You don't need to cut out entire food groups. You don't need to punish yourself with endless cardio. And you definitely don't need to chase extreme advice online. You just need a plan that actually works with your body, your hormones, and your real life. If you watched this and recognized yourself in one of these points, let me know in the comments which one hit home for you. If you want the support of a dietitian, I'll leave a link to my services down below. And I also have a fat loss guide, which is like working with me for a fraction of the price. And remember, dietetic fees are often partially or fully reimbursable from your health insurance because we're registered, regulated healthcare professionals. Now, if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'd like to watch this one next. As always, thank you very much for watching. Stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.